Aloha and welcome to Java. Thank you all kindly for joining me. I hope you're having a great weekend. This is coming out a little bit later. This is my second version. The first one got flagged. So I would just like to let you know that everything in here is simply my opinion. And a couple of things that we're going to be looking through is just stuff that I've come across. So with that, let's look into this. This is Sunday, April 14th, 2024. So the very first thing, of course, that I would like to go through is the risk in the markets. So we got the MMRI. The interesting part is the risk went up temporarily, and then now it's come down back to kind of the levels that it was. We do have relative strength of the dollar is what's to note here. It's above 106. So what does it mean across the markets? That puts pressure on stocks. So 10-year yield also up slightly, however, appearing more stable. And the reason for this is because the dollar is a fear trade globally. So when this type of geopolitical actions, wars, whatever happen, people run to the safety haven of the US dollar because it is the strongest currency. So because of this is why I put this here. Emerging markets, well, they've all got weaker currencies because that's the point, but they cannot hold up to the dollar is the strongest of them all. So as it says, the dollar gets strong too quickly, crushes peers. So I'm looking for them to try to manage that. We've got Wall Street came down lower on Friday, so they're speaking mixed earnings, inflation, and geopolitical fears. It began dropping prior to the announcement of Iran attacking. So they did make the threat. However, stocks and the market were dropping before that. So current sentiment is really split. Either massive recovery rally on Monday or a collapse down through the markets. I tend to be a little more towards the second. The dollar has more bullish notes in the technical analysis, but this is all just probabilities. Nothing is for certain. Again, just my opinion, not financial advice. However, I think rather than an outright collapse, I think it's going to continue basically a downward trend. We're going to have look toward what we call a dead cat bounce. So that means even dead cat falls, it's going to bounce a bit. So stocks to recover a bit, and then we'll continue back down into the trend is basically most of what I see, but don't follow me in trades. You'll lose all of your money. And so I want to know, what did you watch Saturday? Mainstream media really pushing all of this to get you on board with war. And it's got some very interesting timing for a couple of reasons. So quick look at the fear greed gauge. We were in greed territory again, went down into the fear for a bit, and now it's recovered back to neutral, but towards fear. So kind of that neutral, heading a little more towards doubt at the moment. So calendar for this week. Not much as far as reports, not getting a lot of heavy data, not related to inflation. We are showing Fed Chair Powell speaking on Tuesday, but there's also going to be a few other Fed presidents speaking, and they can move the markets. So watch when they come on, particularly if you're a trader. We're getting core retail sales Monday. This is most of this lagging indicators for the previous month. So we're going to also see crude oil inventories Wednesday. Oil important, of course, whenever there's wars in the Middle East, boosts the price a bit. And then we've also got Fed manufacturing index on Thursday and home sales. Existing home sales will be also of interest, watching mortgage rates along with that. So with that, we've got oil seen opening up after Iran's attack. So we'll see what happens with the oil market. I do expect it to be higher, which leads to more inflation. So I want to remind you, Monday is individuals' tax day is due in the United States. I find that very interesting that they start all of this on Friday, right before tax day on Monday. They've been talking about having difficulties getting people to get their filings in. And I would like to encourage you to finish your taxes, get your money in, because otherwise these wars cannot be funded, even though they can print their own money. So do your part, pay your taxes so we can send more bombs, because I know how wonderful you feel about that. Or maybe not, but I know how wonderful I feel about it. Anyway, what we're watching. So, where is all of the money? It's in arms, it's in weaponry, it's in war. War is big business. All wars are bankers' wars. We've got a Czech arms maker, CSG. So, looking to make their place on the global stage, they're grabbing part of what is up and coming. So, we've got all of these huge defense contractors in the United States, for instance, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. So, they're all making bank, so to speak, saying they're doing very, very well. We have BlackRock owns the greater part of a lot of these companies. So their assets hit a record $10.5 trillion, and they're trying to feed us out the garbage that this profit is all off of fees from their banking sector. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are basically owning quite a bit. There's so much more. I think it's appropriate. They're called BlackRock. Very dark. So, with other news, we had the United States banning Russian metals. So, with that, they also approved the sale of US steel to Japan. So, all of this leading into the manufacturing. As a side note, Russia is one of the largest producers of aluminum. So, keep your eyes on that, for the price is going to go up if they're allowed to come through with this. So, short on this is saying Lufthansa suspending flights to these areas, Amman, Beirut, Tel Aviv. However, it was all airlines because they were all threatened that if they left their airspace open, they would also be retaliated against. So this caused a backlog for all airlines. So any international airlines going here are going to be affected profit-wise. One other thing to watch. Okay, and then we've got this almost laughable European Central Bank announcing independence from Federal Reserve policies. Well, they can announce that all they want to. However, whatever Federal Reserve does, they are going to have to react in basically lockstep with them. Otherwise, even the euro, even though it is one of the stronger currencies still out there, will get crushed. So, no offense to my European friends, but that's just how they have this system set up. So, into the wars, which is probably all you heard about this weekend, but I want to expand a couple of things. With what we just spoke about, all of the defense contractors making the money, the European Investment Bank, EIB, are loosening their rules to fund more defense related projects. If that doesn't show you where the money is, I don't know what would. So, other stories, this is expanding. Got US intelligence, they're talking about China selling equipment to Russia to help the war effort in Ukraine. So, our proxy war there heating up a bit. I don't know how that's any different than the United States blatantly funding up front. We've also got expanding NATO. So, when countries join NATO, they must up all of their weaponry and reserves to they have levels that they must keep in order to be in NATO. So what does this mean? NATO has just created captive buyers for all of our American defense contractors, and politicians have openly admitted this. So moving forward, we've got our Russian military, they're moving down into Africa. So relations in Africa deteriorating in the US. We spoke about this before, how the leaders that were put in place by the basically bolstered by the Americans have now basically some of them been ousted or replaced, I'll just say. And that has kind of changed that structure there. So the bigger question, why Israel is risking this escalation with Iran? Also, they call this Operation True Promise. So, why and how did they launch this historic attack on Israel? So, number one, it was mostly a drone attack in retaliation for the Damascus and Syria deal. They're saying that Israel's ready to attack their nuclear sites, and we're getting this garbage from mainstream media talking about the US worried about Israel counterattack. This is all orchestrated towards this. So I want to ask the question. First off, Iran is not very strong with frontal attacks. That's not their strong point. They're better off with cellular internal. And so I think they're going to move to that. So this is all basically a good portion of a facade that is made to save the leader's face, so to speak. Going into the nuclear sites, this is also a setup for either number one, false flags, but number two, also for the energy issues that are coming through. And number three, there's also a proposed major canal and change in trade routes, because with this was also a smaller story about Iran taking over another container ship. So they were flying the Portuguese flag. However, it was Israeli owned. So between all of this, we're getting a setup for not just the war, but changing the trade routes. So it's not the war on the surface. That's all, of course, you can pay attention to it, but don't focus on it. There's so much more going on in the background. Okay, so with that, there's a lot of good things that can come out of this, a lot of good opportunity. We'll keep in touch with that. I'll be with you in the morning. Until then, I'm wishing you a great day. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.